Welcome to the third episode of Series 83, everyone. This month we have Daniel Kwan with us to talk about Wandering Blades, a brand new action-packed wuxia TTRPG that is kickstarting all this month. This episode, we start our discussion series. But before we get to that, we do have some calls to action coming up after the show. Here's what to expect.
You can join us after the show and we'll have more details about the Wandering Blades Kickstarter, a call to action for our Patreon, including how to get custom C3 branded enamel pin, as well as all of our patron thank yous.
With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to our discussion episodes. Last time we finished our session 0 for our Wandering Blades characters. This episode we will be discussing the character creation process. We're excited to welcome back Daniel Kwan, creator of this game and host of the Asians Represent podcast. Do you want to reintroduce yourself again for our audience, and then also please tell us about the character you made?
Okay, yes. So my name is Daniel Kwan. I'm a game designer, podcaster, a cultural consultant. I've worked on a lot of tabletop RPGs. You might recognize my name from things like Candlekeep Mysteries, The Dragons of D&D. I was one of the designers of Avatar Legends and Candela Obscura with Matthew Mercer and Eloy LaSanta. The character I made is, their name is Fui, also known as the White Fox. They are an outlaw who basically wields an old saber that they've cut down and turned into a cleaver. They kind of moonlight as a chef. They're kind of in search of this like perfect meal, and they carry a spice blend in a pouch on their neck that they're constantly modifying based on their travels and experiences. They're traveling with this group, and Feng Yao, Amelia's character, is kind of like the anchor for them. Because of your detective like expertise as well. And I built this character to kind of be like a brutal supporting fighter as well to complement Ryan's character, Stinging Edge. And that's my character, a cleaver wielding chef.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan, please tell us about your character.
All right, so I made Singing Edge, who is a wuxia. They have she has a family Jian sword as her signature weapon that she uses in her dominant hand, and a regular Jian in her offhand. And the way that she fights is by making the swords vibrate as she's making her attacks, which makes them sing in the air and makes a very eerie sound as she's twirling around the battlefield. She's in search of her lost family song or a lullaby that she remembers from when she was a baby. And so she is trying to get information on that and came across Amelia's character for that. But all she has is the tune and an ancient tuning whistle that she uses to kind of unnerve her opponents before a battle and whatnot. And she has also, from one thing I forgot to do is the hero in disguise.
Yeah, what is your alter ego?
Oh,
so it says it has to be.
How did this possibly get more magical girl?
Right, exactly.
Ryan was like,
So,
any game, I can make a magical girl.
So a laborer, a peasant, or a farmer, it would be a good cover for my character. And I'm very curious, like, what would be a good disguise for her?
We can even break the rules. It doesn't have to be a laborer or a farmer.
Because like my first thought was like a singer or something.
What if you're a
like
musician and you like your blade is actually part of your musical instrument?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, like when it's sheathed, I can like strain it and utilize that. Yeah.
Dang.
I think that would be really cool. And then like if I uncover myself, I unstrain it, and that whole ceremoniously unstraining of the instrument like adds to the tension of the scene, which would be fantastic. Okay, yeah. So I'm a musician as my hero in disguise, and I can stay that way for a while, and then undon my disguise and dispatch enemies as I see fit.
Our audience is utterly shocked by these character choices, I'm sure.
I know.
They're like, Ryan made a musician who transforms into
Yeah.
What?
It's
Who's
very
also a
not me
secret
character.
princess? What?
Yeah. What? Yeah. I don't.
No one
I don't
could have
know
seen
where
that
I come up
coming.
with these ideas. Right. Exactly. But that is Saning Edge, the secret princess that is looking for a lost son that apparently is linked to her heritage. Amelia, please tell us about your character.
Sure. My character is Feng Yao, who is a scholar detective. They have half of a letter, and this letter clearly says that there is a different heir than whoever is on the throne right now. My goal is to find that heir. Secretly, everyone, it's Ryan's character. Spoilers.
Nobody here knows that.
Right. Yes. So that is my character's drive, is to find this heir, to decide what we're going to do about it. This half a letter clearly has like some secret family histories going on. But I was ousted from court for asking too many questions about this. And so now I am on this mission to set things right and find out what is going on. My character super loves martial arts, like thinks they are absolutely fascinating, the most interesting thing they have ever learned about. Completely incapable of performing any of them. We do have a staff, which they use, in the very graceful art of hitting people over the head. But excellent knowledge of tactics and understanding of how things should work, despite their inability to make them work themselves.
You're a fight theory nerd.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I love that. Well, let's go ahead and dive into a segment that we are calling D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
So in this segment, we talk to our guests about their thoughts on the character creation in this game, how it relates to the system, how it relates to other games. But first, Daniel, you have been a guest on our show already, so we already got to learn your origin story with RPGs. We're going to go like a little bit deeper. What is your favorite character archetype in an RPG? So like obviously you've learned that Ryan will play Secret Princess Magical Girl musicians. I love a good blood cultist / nerd. Every time. If I can play a face character nerd cultist, sign me up.
Oh my God.
What about you?
I've never been asked this question before.
We pride ourselves on asking the tough questions and getting the truth, Daniel.
Yeah, I have lots of characters who are like my favorite characters that I've played.
Yeah.
I really like the characters who kind of stumble into their success.
Oh, yeah.
I really like those characters.
Love
I like
that.
characters who, through whether it be like tragedy or some sort of misfortune or just like sheer incompetence, kind of bumble
Wrong
their
place,
way
wrong
through
time.
life. Wrong place, wrong time. I also like characters who are a little bit unhinged. My favorite character I've ever played was actually in a Pathfinder game. And so the whole backstory I had for my character was that he was this like gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous man who was basically helping the emperor within sort of like Tianxia discover ways of becoming immortal. And my character's backstory, he was like experimenting on his own body, like tattooing it with like sigils and magic. But then somebody mysteriously came about and actually forced my soul out of the body and stole it, this like living experiment. And my soul basically got forced into a doll. And my whole character's backstory was that they are like a puppet with their soul inside of it. And for 200 years, they've been searching for their real body. And the time spent outside of their body has made them more and more unhinged. And so they were this like gunslinger who worked for the Pathfinder Society, and they were like awful at paperwork. And all I wanted to do was go and shoot things. And so I carried around this giant gun blade, but I was like basically a puppet with a gun blade.
Oh, wow.
And through our adventure, I ended up finding my body, but it was just my skin. Oh. And my character ended up just wearing his skin as a cape for the rest of the adventure.
So disturbing.
Yeah.
But so fun. What
because
a
my
concept.
character was just so long gone.
Yeah.
It's so like beyond redemption that he was just basically a brand new person.
Like you don't even have an
if you wanna
attachment
call it.
to that anymore.
No, it was just like this thing. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And think about like running around in like the skin cape, like dragging around behind them. That's 100% my character. And I played that character for like a year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
That's so good.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think I like the characters that stumble into their adventures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't like your life calling to have a skin cape.
No. Take away some of my
I've ever
agency at
wanted
the start.
since the day I was born.
Yeah, none of that.
No. Okay.
Absolutely. What sort of process or mechanic do you really love to see in a character creation system?
Oh, I love mechanics that actually bring other people at the table together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like character creation to be something that we're just kind of doing in the same space, but separately.
Yeah.
Like there are always like best parallel play. Exactly. There are best practices of like, talking to other people, but I love when a game actually reinforces the connections between the characters. Like, because it gets everybody invested in the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite way
collaborative storytelling?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite way of doing that? Like, obviously in this one, we kind of all had a connection to each other. I know that like in PBTA, kind of you ask questions and make those links with other people.
Yeah, it's like something in the middle. Like I like something that is relatively unstructured, not too cumbersome, but something that players are able to engage with at, based on their own comfort. With like PBTA, sometimes the questions are really hard for first time players to ever answer.
I think sometimes they're like almost like too pointed. Like they assume a lot. They're like, this thing happened. How did you respond? Or like, who did you talk to about it? And you're like, well, okay, so now I guess you've established that happened and I didn't get to choose.
Exactly. The one I really like is actually 10 candles.
Okay.
I like a 10 candles because, when you're creating your characters on your index cards, the person to your left and the person to your right also create an aspect of your character.
Mm.
And I love how I believe it's been a while since I played 10 candles, like pre-pandemic. But one of them, the player to your left or right, basically writes down what's one thing that they saw you do.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I like that sort of collaboration.
Yeah.
I like how certain aspects of my character aren't quite only in my control.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to work with the people at the table.
Yeah.
I'd say that one is my like example of my favorite one.
Yeah. I like that. I have not gotten to play 10 Candles ever. I really want to at some point, but
That's a good one. It's an in-person game.
yeah, it is. I did get a set of candles for 10 Candles. That was one of the NE submissions this year. Was like different sets of tea lights, and they're wonderfully scented.
Well, that's
Love
really
them.
cool.
Yeah. I was like, oh, cool, candles. Who doesn't love candles?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love 10 Candles. I think that game is great. But I think the way in which character creation works for that game really matches the vibe of like the end of the world and the tragic death of the entire like group.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We like to talk about character sheets and their layout, because usually character sheet is kind of like the first interaction most people will have with a game, right? What sort of story they tell, what do they tell us about playing the game? And I'm kind of curious. I know you mentioned that they were only one-sided. What kind of thoughts and feelings did you have about creating the character sheet? What things were important to you? What do you think it tells people about this game?
Yeah, it's all like an iterative process, right?
Yeah.
When I was playtesting, I've gone through so many different character sheets. And one of the things that I've been, if I have the opportunity to do it in person, is I like to watch people fill out the character sheet. And I'd like to see where they actually, how they flow through the sheet. One of the things that I really love, like the best character sheets, I think are ones that like kind of communicate the entire process to the players, right? Like you do this step and then this leads into this step and then this and then this and then this. I like single page character sheets because it's really easy to forget something on the second page.
Yeah.
It also means, you have to either print double-sided or you have to print another sheet, which is just another thing you can lose or forget about.
Yeah.
So I want all the most important things on your character sheet. And I was actually inspired by a game that I think has the best character sheet in all of TTRPGs called Mothership. And the Mothership character sheet basically flows. There's literally a flow and there's arrows that illustrate, here's your character details, then your attributes, and then it goes into this, and then it goes into this. And everything flows very organically on that character sheet. And that's what I really wanted to have with Wandering Blades. I wanted to have a character sheet that was minimalistic. I wanted a character sheet that was easy to read, but also flowed well and contained only the most important pieces of information to the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I can easily see that. I think it was, like our listeners are, I'm sure, tired of hearing me say this part, but this is the thing I get excited about with character sheets is, did I have to stop and think about where this information goes? When somebody says, write this down on your character sheet, do I question which box it goes in? And I did not, which to me, like, it sounds stupid and simple, but like it is so imperative and not everyone does it. And it felt like, kind of conveyed the things that were important based on their size. It felt
I owe a lot of credit to Johnny at Plus One EXP, my publisher, who did the character sheet and responded to all of my feedback and stuff because I don't have the graphic design skills for that.
Right, I know. I wish I did. I would love to.
I just wish I wish I could draw. That's actually the one thing I wish I could do.
Yeah.
That's like every TTRPG person wishes they could draw.
Yeah.
So that I could do my own art.
You're like, I can see it in my head.
But I can't, when I try to put it to paper, it just does not look like
much
that.
like my character and my martial arts skills. I can see it. I know what I want it to be. Can't do it.
Oh yeah. When I was designing when I was working with the artist who did the cover of Wandering Blades, Leia Ham, I sent the worst mock-up possible. Like I had some like hand-drawn things and I was like, oh, these are awful. So I decided to go into Photoshop and take poses for characters from different movie posters and then overlay them. And it looks so bad.
I was trying to get art done for a podcast at one point, and I literally like sent our artist a picture on my phone of a Post-it note where I had scribble drawn. I'm like, it should look kind of like this. Yeah, and I was like, can you make this something? And she did. She, like the most excellent, beautiful art. But like, I was like, here's my Post-it note.
Yeah, it was truly awful. I'm actually trying to find the thread that what I made, and it's truly bad. Oh yeah, here it is.
That's how you know you have an excellent artist, because they were still willing to work with you after you said
I just
that.
sent it to you.
Like, you know
it's
what?
Truly bad.
Actually, you really do need my help.
I mean, honestly, okay, so you've got the three individuals, right? They all get weapons drawn. They're in various positions. It conveys a message of what you want to
I sent a very detailed breakdown. I was like, this is the clothing, this is the type of weapon. I sent reference images, but it took forever to just come up with that.
That's nothing that you would want on the cover of a book, but to give to an artist and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking.
I appreciate the amount of time that it took to make this, though.
Yeah.
And,
I also made a mood board as well. I made a mood board. So for any of the freelance artists that like I work with, I send them a mood board with like all the different characters. I'll share that with you folks, because I think it's a fun
It's amazing
thing.
that I'm looking at your mock-up compared to the art in the Kickstarter.
I don't know.
And I see the poses are
okay. Yeah,
they're the same. And I was like, how do I find this? I was like, literally for some movies taking like screen grabs of different scenes and poses.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when I was working with the different artists, I made detailed mood boards. I was like, this is what I want. Here's some notes for the different characters. These are some YouTube videos and stuff like that. And this is kind of what we've been working off of. Because I can't draw, I've been like very, very purposeful about sending as much information as possible, as much as I can articulate about it.
Yeah, but Pinterest, mood boards, that sort of stuff.
Remember when Pinterest
fantastic
was good?
for inspiration.
I love Pinterest.
I know.
It's so bad now.
Yeah.
It's such AI garbage.
Use Pinterest? Okay,
it's unusable.
It's good for recipes.
Like the Pinterest subreddit is all people being like, I can't use this site anymore because it's all just ads or AI. Like,
yeah,
it makes me so sad because it was great for like RPG mood boards and like character ideas and stuff.
I get recipes from TikTok.
Oh yeah, me too.
I get recipes from TikTok and
what?
Looks like my thing died. We're gonna keep the audacity going just in case.
Now that is unexpected.
Yeah, that's
wow. Weird. That's they kept the timer going.
Yeah.
Because that was the 4-hour mark.
Yeah. Did somebody not all the way sign out? Maybe.
I'm still going. Here we go. I've rejoined.
Yeah.
We're just in different positions now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the same for me. I'm good.
Oh, yeah, I still got my main audio going.
Yeah. I left mine going, so we should be fine.
We should be fine there. I don't know. That's never happened that way for us before. So now I got another beef with Squadcast.
We use Zencastr.
I have heard many a good and nightmare scenario with Zencastr.
Yeah.
I haven't had any nightmares with Zencastr. I've had nightmares with Riverside.
I've heard nightmares upon nightmares with Riverside.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but nightmares with Riverside, but I've heard, both extreme ends with Zencastr. Like lots of people love it, and then I have a number of friends that are like, we lost everything.
We haven't had any issues with Zencastr. We had one thing where like a video cut out, but that's fine. But it does the post-production, which is so great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only issue I think like we have with Squadcast really is just the fact that it has that 4-hour limit. And every time Ryan reaches out, they're like, we don't have a limit programmed in. And we're like, okay, then why does it cut out at 4 hours literally every single time?
On the dot of whenever the first person joins.
Yeah.
But you're paying for it though.
We are.
Yeah, so that's so strange.
Yeah.
Zencastr just has a limit on the amount of post-production you could do each month. We get like 10 hours of post-production each month.
Oh yeah. You get Descript with this Squadcast as well. So you can do post-production in Descript directly from the files in here and everything.
Cool.
And it is full like 44.1K quality uncompressed audio and all that sort of fun stuff that you work with, which is fantastic. And the quality is much better than Zoom was.
Yeah.
But Zoom was a million times more stable.
Yes, Zoom is very stable.
It's just the problem with Zoom is if you use their cloud recording, it will feed AI.
I did not know that. We haven't used Zoom in so long.
Yeah.
We stopped using it because of that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now we're here.
I should look and see what Zencastr does because I don't actually know.
I don't know.
Huh. I'll look that up afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other option would be Craig on Discord using the external recording hooking, but that's so much more complicated for the average
to record
guest.
On Discord?
Craig records through Discord, but also there's an external application that you link to your Discord call that does full quality local recording that uploads in the background as well.
Which, is probably great if you have, if your podcast is always like this set of 3 or 4 people, right? But like when we have guests, like we're not going to ask them to try and figure all of that out. Like,
join the Discord.
We're like, we need you to get Audacity and then you need to click this link. Simple as that. Like,
good to go.
That's why we did Zencastr, because again, like Zencastr is just easy. You click the link, you're in. You don't even have to upload anything else. I mean, the same thing with Squadcast.
Yeah, we do both just because we're anal. And then the one time we've lost audio, we lost both because my computer ate it.
Yeah.
It's
So-
good to be a
Ran
little
out of hard
paranoid.
drive space.
It did. My poor computer.
But now we know. We've
Now we
learned.
know. It's
We've
true.
evolved.
Professional
And
We
podcast.
now
got
I
an
have to
external
send
hard
another
drive is what we did.
another email to Squadcast and say, hey, this 4-hour limit, that's not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
It has happened once more.
Yep.
Yeah, only this time more aggressively.
Let's see.
But yeah, what do we want to
What was
do
our,
in
yeah, I mean, I feel
terms
like
of
we wrapped up our
Yeah,
last question.
I think
Ryan?
so. I think we can move on to the next question and just make it sound natural from there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so how do we think character creation for Wandering Blades stacks up to other systems that we've played or created characters for?
Well, I love randomly rolling my stats. I'm not going to lie to
Yeah.
you. I love it because I love ending up with characters that are not good at stuff. It makes my heart so happy. Like when we talk about that question of like, what is your favorite part? Like, what do you love about character creation? I love when my characters suck. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's so much more interesting than having like your optimized, perfect, amazing character. Like I've played with
Yeah.
people in the past who will like fudge their stats to have a character that's, I'm like, it's so boring. You know, like
But see,
we
I
did
love the
Shadow Dark
excitement.
and we were all, I mean, and like so much came out of the fact that like none of us had charisma.
All
like,
bad.
We could not talk to
Just-
people.
Uh-huh.
And so like I love that so much came out of the fact that I'm like, wow, like my strength and agility are one.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Ryan
no,
even
it's really
picked
interesting.
Ryan picked a technique, a martial arts technique that worked with your intellect.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think but it ended up really defining a lot of like of how I view my character again as that sort of like nerd who's like super into this but has 2 left
Yeah.
feet and can't, you know, like I love that. I love the interesting situations that will come up of like we're in combat,
Yeah.
other people are down, and it's just me swinging my stick around hoping I hit something. Like I'd love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that like my character concept could have been the exact same, right?
Mhm.
But the competency of my character is variable based on the stats. Like if I rolled 1s across the board, maybe a 2 in there,
Mhm.
I can be like, well, yeah, I want to be this like amazing like dominate the battlefield individual whose blade sings and strikes fear in the heart of her enemies and all that sort of stuff. But I rolled poorly and now I can make that part of my story.
Mhm.
But now I've got really good stats in the stuff that matters. And now I can feel more confident going into these battles, knowing that I have a much better chance
Yeah.
of dominating the battlefield through the mechanics, and knowing that my character will be more confident role play wise because of that.
Yeah.
Which
I had
is
a
really
question
cool.
for you too, actually. This is something that's come up in playtesting. And some handful of folks have asked, well, what if I just had a standard array of numbers that you could, similar to the reputation scores, just assign to your attributes? What are your thoughts on like a standard array?
That's fine.
I mean, they're okay.
I think-
I,
I mean,
like the
like,
random. I like the randomness personally.
I do. I
The
think
randomness is
a
exciting.
standard array is cool. You know, I think for like maybe first time players who aren't, you know, or like people who aren't as comfortable with role play or something like that, where you're like, you know, because there are some people who like the fun of it is in being okay at things, in being competent. And so, you know, like I could see how for some people that would be a thing that they would like. I personally like rolling. I think especially when it's, you know, D6, like there really is only so much swinginess there, you know.
Yep.
It's you know, it's not 3d6, right? Like it's so yeah.
Yeah, I've thought like, oh, maybe I do like roll 5d6 and get rid of the lowest, but I just kind of just like,
Yeah.
You have your delta. These are the cards that you've been dealt, and you have
Right.
to go
I
with
honestly like
Well,
that
right.
emotional gut punch of rolling and seeing 2 1s. Like really just like, it was like, oh, it's 2. Like we're sitting here like 1,
Well,
1, 3, 4.
It opens things up to a wide variety of characters, right? Because like you could have 2 1s and 2 6s. And now your choice is like, what am I really good at? And what am I really not good at?
Right.
Right.
Well, and there's that question of like,
hugely character defining.
when you have that too, you know, like rolling or whatever, like I could have made a conscious decision to be like, I'm a detective and my intelligence is 1. I didn't say I was good at it. I said I was a detective, right?
I'm trying real hard.
Right.
That's why I haven't uncovered the truth yet.
Exactly. That's why this conspiracy is still ongoing. You know, or I just continually come to the wrong conclusions every time. Like it's, you know, left or right, I will always pick the wrong one. So I like that it allows for some of that too. I mean, not that the standard array wouldn't, I guess, but yeah, like you could come up with totally different characters based on where I put those ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think standard array versus rolling. I think rolling has a very nice place. It's a lot swingier for sure, but like it tells a story.
I think you come up with more varied characters too.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, that's kind of where I stand.
People where like, so like Ryan, you had a 6 in your roll. I didn't. So like my best score is still only a 4. Like I didn't have a single stat that I was like actually amazing at, you know? And so like, I think once you do a standard array, it's like, okay, you have a thing you're bad at, 2 things you're okay at, and 1 you're good. And I don't have that. I have 2 things I'm bad at and 2 things that I'm like, all right at, you know, like,
right.
And that tells a totally different story.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's also something to be said of like point buy, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and if you wanted the variability, you could always go like you start with 4 points and then you get like 3d6 extra points or something like that. And now you can have that swinginess still if you roll poorly, but then you get to choose how good and how bad you are. But like, it's still, this is simple. It's you throw the 4d6 and that's your stats. Find a place for them. Right. It's very easy to grok. You don't have to worry about like looking at tables or figuring anything out. It's like, this is my values. Right. I don't have to convert like a 14 to a +2 modifier or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't want any of that because again, it aligns with the idea of like a fast experience.
Yeah. I will say, I think there's something to be said too in this character creation process for like not having to reference the book. Like, not to say that designers don't put tons of work into their book and tons of thought into their character creation, but often in a lot of groups, one person buys the book. You have a book. And then, you know, like how often am I having to go back to like look up everything? Like we just had the quick start guide. I mean, and granted, we have Daniel here, but like my character class was not in the quick start guide. So I didn't have to reference like anything in the book. I think when you start doing
until
like
you got to the
when you start doing arrays,
stuff, right?
when you start doing like 3d6 drop, you know, like whatever, like you start being like, okay, now I have to go and reference like which numbers can I do? What was the array? Was it 5, 4, 3, 2?
And that slows down the experience, right?
Where it's just like I can remember roll 46.
Yeah.
I will remember that next time I sit down to play this game. Be like 46, got it. There's 4 stats. I'll roll. Like,
and this goes with that like time to violence, right?
Yes.
If you have to like say you're in combat and you have to refer to the rule book, it's going to slow down the pace and it's going to take you out of the action.
Yeah.
Like I just want you to use what's on your character sheet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is why I will say I appreciate things like that. Like, you know, you get like +1 or whatever to like Ryan's like favored weapon, or I forget what it was called, but
your signature weapon,
that it was you step up the die, not like I have to remember to add 6 to this, or I have to remember to add my modifier from this to this thing. That you're like, no, now you roll a d6 instead of a d4. Like,
and Ryan put that on their character sheet when you made your character,
right?
And you're just like, it's there,
right?
Yep.
And you don't have to touch that.
I don't have to go back to the book to be like, what modifier do I add to this thing? I don't remember. I mean, you're also looking at a person who played L5R for years and years and years, and every time would go, how do I roll initiative? So maybe I'm not the person to ask, but
there's also no initiative in this game too.
Right. Amazing.
Combat doesn't, the players always go first in combat, actually.
That's cool.
But it's kind of broken down into fast and slow turns. So you, basically the GM declares if they're going to go fast, their NPCs go fast or slow. If you go fast, you get an action and a reaction. You go slow, you get 2 actions in a reaction.
Okay.
Fast turns always resolve first. Then players get to decide, and players always go first. So the players that chose to go fast go, and then the NPCs slow, and then the NPCs. And so it actually lets the players kind of decide, okay, well, maybe you should go before me, and then I'll work off of you. And then they can kind of, it keeps you in the action. And it actually forces you to think about how I want to use my reactions.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, maybe I should save my reactions to parry, or maybe I should use my reaction to gain an extra action to press the advantage.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really want people to see that, like, there's strategic thinking that has to go into combat. But it doesn't have to be all about the numbers.
I think that
It
really
can be about how
tickles
you, like,
the
work
brain
together.
of those like challenge type players too, though, that are like, I love the problem solving puzzle. And it's like, but figuring out how do I maximize like this combat and these like, so it's like, if you go first, then your thing will stack on top of mine, and then I'll go. And then, you know, like that kind
I
of stuff, like
literally
that
had-
tickles a part of my brain, because I'm not really a
And that's what I
min-maxing
want.
player, but I love that like collaborative, like, oh, if you do that, then I can, you know, like, oh.
The
I had
rabbit
a-
strategy.
I had a play test where that exact thing happened, and the players there was like a group of enemies, and they had like the enemies had like a leader, and the players were like, well, if we focus all the weaker enemies first, then Daniel is just going to have one combatant in the fight, and he's not going to go slow, because that would mean we would all get to go before him. He has to go fast.
Yeah.
And so they were actually manipulating the like perceived initiative order narratively.
Yeah.
Because they were like, well, if Daniel goes slow, that means we all could take a slow turn. We'll get 2 actions and a reaction. And then Daniel will get 2 actions and a reaction. But we could kill him before then. So maybe we'll force him to go fast. And then we could kind of like beat up on him. And it actually mechanically represented the players gaining the upper hand in the fight.
Yeah. See, and I love that,
That's
like,
cool.
narratively, like, I got to build a character whose job it is to do that. Like, that,
Exactly.
like, that is a fact about my character, is that they like to do that. Like, okay, but you'll go here, and then I'll, like, you know. So I got to mechanically build that in, too, which is even more fun, I think.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked the drive and the keepsake portion of the character creation.
I think so much of our story came from just like, let's fill in this one box.
Two lines.
Yeah.
2 lines of open-ended, like, hey, what's your character
and
want?
we have now handed a GM a whole campaign, or, you know, 5 sessions or whatever it is, to be like, here's what we want. We want to, like...
Yeah, now I know that I'm going to drop these clues during the adventure, and that's what we're going to do next.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
We're going to uncover
and
the plot. We're going to make this amazingly seasoned lamb dish. We're going to, like...
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, even the character name, like, informed my entire
I was really
character premise.
unsure about that when you were like, we'll do names first. And I was like, I always name my character based off of who they are. And so to be
this
like,
is by design.
to name the, like, to be like, I'm going to tell you who it is before I've built anything really stressed me out. I was like, I don't know. It feels like so much pressure. But like, yeah, it did end up, I mean, and granted, like, as part of picking that name, we obviously made some decisions. It was like, okay, I think I do want a detective character, and that's why, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a cultural reason too, right? Because like I had said in the previous episode, the Chinese given names tend to carry meaning.
Yeah, they're a lot. They're often aspirational.
Yeah, they're exactly. They're often aspirational. And you know, in Chinese culture, you might have like a nickname or a title that kind of reflects what you've accomplished or what you're capable of. So like, why not start with a name?
Yeah. I appreciate
It's
that
so
that is
good.
the complete opposite of how my mother named me, because Grace is my middle name. And I asked my mom at one point, I said, why? Because that doesn't fit me at all. I like to tell my mom that
my name in Chinese means child of peace, and I'm designing like a hyper
You're
violent
like,
game.
I love war games.
So
right?
like, yeah, I love war games.
I asked
so
my mom,
like,
I was like, I think you doomed me for life by giving me this middle name. And she was like, no, you just had a first name with a lot of syllables. So I felt like you needed a short middle name. And I was like, cool. She's like, Amelia's a long name. Let's do Grace. Like, I'm named after my grandmother, whose name was Amelia, but her middle name was Cecilia. And my mom was like, that was too much name. So you got a short middle name. Like,
my mom's English name is literally has no real meaning to it. It was because her parents didn't speak English, so they were like, "Oh,
This sounds
what's
good.
a name?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and so my mom's name is Eileen, which is like an Irish name,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and because the nurse that delivered her is Irish, and they're like, pick a name, and that's how it worked out.
I
My
love that.
dad's English name is basically what his white teacher thought his Chinese name sounded like. And they're like, that's just how it works out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love that like these like we put so much meaning into like the traditional names and what we want you to be, and then they're like,
And it's just, what does it sound
yeah,
like?
like Eileen, great. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, at least, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not Jane or something. Like
Yeah.
slightly more
Yeah,
personal.
but yeah, it's like, it's unique. How many Asian women are named Eileen?
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Yeah.
guess there's an Olympian, Eileen Gu. So never mind. I take that back.
Okay.
But yeah, the doing the name first is very much like an intentional thing.
Yeah.
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 Because again, this is a character driven martial arts drama.
Mhm.
It's not as, the setting is not as important,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
it's like, it's
and
all about you.
You're also making these like heroic level characters, these like legendary sort of
Yeah.
characters within the world that you're building them in, and having the option of having that like very iconic name, like, oh, that's Singing Edge,
Yeah.
that's very evocative,
Mhm.
right? And that tells you a whole bunch about this character. And just because of that, well, it informed almost everything about my character
Yeah.
from that point
Right.
forward.
Yeah, your drive, your keepsake, even your equipment too,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like your weapon,
Even your secret identity.
your alter ego. Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's such a secret.
Yeah.
Who could Singing
Who could
Blade possibly
Singing
be?
Blade?
Could
Not
it be
that
the person
musician.
that sings
Not
with
that
that blade in our
that
local
sings and
tavern?
has a blade?
Yeah.
No.
Never.
No.
Or maybe your alter ego is like you're just not a good musician.
Mhm.
Like maybe you're terrible.
Mm.
Maybe terrible on purpose,
Yeah, exactly. So
Right.
like nobody like that
or just
person could.
mediocre, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that person could definitely isn't Singing Blade. Like listen to their music, it's awful.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at
Or
the
like
very
they only
least,
do
just like,
covers.
it's
They don't do
fine.
originals.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. The idea of Singing Blade in a cover band is amazing.
Right. Okay, everybody. Here's Wonderwall.
Oh yeah, I can't wait
Yeah,
for
maybe
you to
that's all you
perform
do.
at weddings.
You only know 4 chords.
That's how we're getting into a court, though. We're going to sneak into a noble wedding
Hey,
as
I can only do so much
as
by
a
stringing up
wedding
my
cover
sword.
band.
Or maybe your character's name could be 4-chord Lee or something like that. Because that's all you know.
Right.
And that could be the name of your alter ego.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I thought that was cool because, like I said, I normally do it backwards, and it was challenging to do it that way.
Mhm.
I thought that was, but again, it much like that drive and that keepsake informed so much about every other decision that I made in
Mhm.
this game, including where I ended up putting my stats, right? Like
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're doing your stats first, you might not necessarily have an idea of what your character is going to be narratively. You're like, this is how I want my character to perform in
Yeah.
combat.
Mhm.
Not this is what I want my character to be.
Right.
Right. So that's why we did attributes second after we did your character details.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, which I think is again an interesting way to do it. And you certainly could do it the other way. And there are lots of
can
games
do it
where
the
you're
other
like,
way.
I build out my stats, and you're like, okay, now based on these things that I've rolled, here's what I'm gonna make.
And-
So it
and
was,
those,
and I think it was so interesting to me again to be like, I am making a detective who's going to solve this case, and I rolled 2 1s, and now I have to figure out like, what am I going to do with this? Like, how am I going to be able to like make this
Mhm.
happen if I'm not
Mhm.
good at much?
Not good at detecting.
Right? Exactly.
What do
Yeah.
I detect if when I can't detect?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's always fun to me when you have to like challenge that perception of the perfect character.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And like I like games that kind of force me into that sometimes.
Yeah.
To make those hard choices and to say like I'm going to embrace them and I'm going to make something more interesting because of that. I feel like, Ryan, that's a journey that I'm very proud of you that you've made over the course of this show, because I think when we started, you were not the kind of person that made characters that were bad at things.
Oh yeah. I tried to min-max a lot more back in the day, because that's the experience I
Ryan
came
is
from,
a
right?
recovering min-maxer.
Recovering palladium min-maxer to be precise.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like that's the virtue of like that kind
you
of
do
game.
what you know what you know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, discovering different types of games where you can't, like, you know, you can do that or you can't do that. Like, I think even when I played D&D, I did still mid-max things because I was like, I want to be able to enjoy playing this game. And it's a game where like you can't be bad at things or you won't.
Yeah, but I think with D&D, it's very much, it's a power fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're always supposed to be winning. You're also always, when you're entering a combat encounter, it's always kind of designed to be at your level so that you can win.
Right. Right. And then again, it's another thing too, that like it depends on the kind of people that you're playing with too. And like the group I was playing with people that were very combat focused, that like that's what they wanted to do. So I was like, I'm going to make a fighter so that I can play along, because otherwise like I'm not going to have much to do, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I'm proud of your growth, Ryan.
Thank you. Messiness is fun.
It is.
Yes.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that. I'm really excited about this set of discussion episodes again. I think people really responded well last time when we did our Salvage Union discussion episodes too. And I've noticed that, you know, our listeners don't hear this, but afterwards, when we're done recording, we've had a couple guests lately say that like they got to talk really in depth about some design stuff that they don't always get to talk about. And so like, you know, people have just heard the first half of that with Daniel, but I think that this was another chance where we really got to ask kind of those burning questions that I always have, and I think don't always get asked when you're doing like actual play, or, you know, just that's the beauty of like getting to focus on just character creation, is that we get to like pick apart that part and get into the really nitty gritty stuff. And so like I'm really excited for people to hear the other half of this discussion too. But this was another great set of episodes where we got to really just like pick a designer brain and ask all of those questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was really nice to have Daniel on for that too, because he's got such a good perspective on not only that genre, but everything to do with designing games within that sort of, culture and experience and whatnot. And it was really nice to be able to pick his brain over everything that kind of went into this and stuff that he pulled from, you know, past experiences with, different games that he has worked on in the past.
I think it was really cool too, because we haven't gotten to talk to him for a while, and to kind of see like the growth too that's happened since we talked to him about Ross Rifles, and like how far he's come in his design stuff, the difference between like doing this largely, you know, on his own versus with other people. So I really hope people enjoyed this discussion. I hope people stick around next week to hear more of it, because I think like Daniel's also just like such a great conversationalist. Like I love when we get to just chat with him, and you know, there's so much that we talked about that didn't make it into episodes too. So I hope people enjoy what they're hearing about the game, and I hope people are really liking these discussions that we've been having the last few months. I'm enjoying them a lot.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying them a lot as well.
And that's the beauty of having a podcast, is that we get to just be like, this is what I want to know.
Exactly. Well, before we let you go for the day, we do have some calls to action.
First up, if you are enjoying this game and want to get a copy of Wandering Blades for yourself, the Kickstarter fully funded within the first 48 hours of launching. It is currently working towards its second stretch goal to add even more amazing art to the game. So you can head on over to wanderingblades.com and it'll take you right to where you need to go to support the project.
In addition to all of that, we would love it if you checked out the C3 Patreon at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. If you are able to help us out, it would allow us to do even more for the community and for the show itself. So once Amelia and I have a bit more free time, I'm guessing July or August give or take, hand wave.
Yeah. End of June is when my any stuff is done. So hopefully I can breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I'll dig my way out of my mountain of books and see the light of day again.
Yep. Yep. Once that happens, we will be able to devote our energies back into the show and make the Patreon even more worthwhile with things like new bonus episodes. I'm sure Chit Chats will start back up. And just some extra stuff to bring some extra joy to our supporters. But we could definitely use your help in the meantime. I would love it if we could get to $160 a month. When we do, we can hire somebody to do maintenance on our webpage every month. So that way we can have all the information on it that we would love to have on there for all of the games that we cover. It would be about 1 to 2 hour a month job to add all that extra information. And it'll help people find the show through searching for the games that we cover. And it'll also be a great resource for all the fans of the show. You'll be able to get character sheets there. You'll be able to get links to the games, links to the episodes that we covered on the games, all that fun stuff. And the sooner that we can get to that, the better, because I think we'll only be able to afford current series until we do even more in our Patreon.
Yeah.
Once we get to 200, maybe we can go back and get a whole bunch more done.
Yeah. It's like the longer it takes us to hit 160, the more of a backlog there will be.
Exactly. Exactly. So I would definitely love that. And to sweeten the deal, I think we'll do an enamel pins for all of the campaign level backers if we hit 160 a month.
Yeah.
And then if we're able to afford a nice hefty backlog of pins, any new campaign level backers that come after that will get one in their welcome package, which I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that would be really awesome. Also, like, who doesn't love pins? I love pins.
Exactly.
I used to be part of a Patreon where I got a pin every month. It was amazing. Pins are good.
It's very nice.
I like love stuff in the mail. That's really, yeah. Right now, if we can get 8 more campaign level patrons, that would get us past our $200 barrier. And that'll be 8 more folks that can get some great stuff, including new stickers every month. Please be aware, I do know I owe you stickers, and I promise you will get stickers for every month. I just have to actually sit down and design them. I love you, patrons. You're wonderful. Thank you for being understanding. So you get a new sticker every month, a set of 3d6 C3 branded Chessex dice. They're very nice, and so far they've been fairly kind to me, actually. I've tested out many of them. And then a personalized thank you card from both of us, handcrafted by myself, as well as many other perks. This is all for the $10 a month, and that goes a long way to helping provide a one-stop shop for any of the games we cover on the show. Just 4 more campaign level patrons will get us to that $160 goal too, so that we can start doing the website stuff. We also have tiers at $5 and $1 level that give you various perks as well. So you can head over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast to get all of the info.
In addition to all of that, we do like to thank our current patrons every episode. Your support truly helps out a great deal. So let's go ahead and do that right now.
Lieutenant, DJ G, and Eric Bonts, we are so grateful for you. I thought that said we salute you. So I'm going to go ahead and say that. We salute you.
Thank you, Daryl Holiday II, Shadim Cabal, and the Shyest Barbarian. Your support brings us so much joy.
Thank you to Benjamin Sweeney, Rob Fletcher, and Kevin Brown. Your support really does mean so much to us.
Many thanks to Tentacle Duck, John Adamus, and A3 Sketchpad.
You didn't say it properly. You have to get excited when you say Tentacle Duck.
Tentacle Duck.
Tentacle Duck. Cole McCallum, Carlos Salazar, and Eric S. Thank you all so much.
Ian Potmeyer, Liam G, and Brian Colm, thanks for helping us make the show.
We are so glad to have Garden GM, Tanglefoot, and Blue Kryptonite. Thank you to all of you for supporting us.
Danny, Nicole Trainer, and Leah Murray, you all rock. Thank you.
Kenning, Brian Kurtz, and Mark E. Fair, thank you for helping make all of this possible.
Drew Owen, Oz, and James McGinley, thank you so much.
And we appreciate the support of Sean Metcalf and Robert. Thank you.
And thank you to all of our future patrons. If you want to join this phenomenal group of individuals, please head on over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast and help us out. We are getting very close to covering all those operating expenses every month. And with more assistance, we'll be able to get those website upgrades as well. And finally, if you want to join in the discussion with our hosts, some of our guests, and a bunch of fans, head on over to our Discord at discord.charactercreationcast.com.
That is all we have for today's episode. You can join us here next week when we finish our discussion for Wandering Blades, including our incredible fanfic. Until then, take care, everyone. Stay safe, drink some water, try not to sneeze too much with all of that pollen that is happening, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this discussion series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.